Hello, and welcome back to another episode of To Whom It May Concern. I'm your host Malak here with my co-host Khawaila and Inara.
Hey, salam alaikum.
So unfortunately, Mariam is not going to join our episode this week because she's studying so hard because she is taking the bar exam this week, inshallah. So please keep her in your diets for a successful exam, and she will be done and back for next week's episode, inshallah. So it's not going to be the same without her, but we're going to try to make her proud. And that leads me to introduce this week's topic. But for those of you that are keeping track of the politics, this week, the past week actually, was the first political debate. So we had our current president, Donald Trump, versus our old vice president, Joe Biden. So the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party, basically. And they were supposed to go head to head on various important topics so we could get a better understanding of, the candidate with the best intention that supports us, whatever. And unfortunately, I think it was complete chaos. So we really didn't get too much of that at all, I think.
Yeah. Honestly, the debate was, I think for the most part, everyone left that debate, even if you were scrolling through social media, everyone left that debate feeling disappointed because no one really answered any questions.
Mm-hmm.
You said they didn't really go head to head. They did go head to head, but just bashing each other rather than actually talking about their own policies and their own changes and points of views. It's funny. Yeah. I don't think either of them answered a question. It was more just going around the point.
I think this was probably, I'm not a very political person by any means, but I was watching the debate, and I think this had to be one of the worst debates in the history. Like, it was such a mockery, and the fact that people could make so much fun of it is, it's really pathetic, and it's really concerning that these are the people we have to vote for the next 4 years.
I couldn't even stand watching it. I was so bothered by the interruptions. I'm I can't even focus. Well, obviously, I can't imagine how Joe Biden is feeling with Trump constantly interrupting. But what this gets me thinking is, each person has 2 minutes to actually discuss their policy. So even in general, I don't know how beneficial these presidential debates really are, because you can't explain a healthcare plan within 2 minutes. So I'm I don't know, even just in general, is there even a benefit to presidential debates? Because today or recently what came about was just them constantly going back and forth against each other. He's a liar, she's whatever. So I'm I don't even know if there's much of a benefit. Another thing with presidential debates, they're supposed to be able to sway you to one side. I feel like people tuning in already have the president that they're voting for. They know, everybody's with their party, everybody knows who they want to vote. So I don't know how much influence this even has.
Well, I think the debate, I think, is definitely, I think it could be very beneficial, because even though it's 2 minutes, it's just supposed to be a quick synopsis of what are you thinking, what do you hope for the future? And then even at times they go back to back on those points. So it's not 2 minutes and they wrap up the whole subject. It's kind of a back and forth, which I can see the confusion because that obviously didn't happen this past week. But it's supposed to be exchanging ideas. And although people typically have the party that they're voting for, I think it's more for the swingers, the people that are in between the swing states or the swing votes. But it's also just to give you a better understanding of their views, because ideally you already know what your candidates are voting for anyways. So for the most part, we've already heard what Biden thinks of COVID, what Trump's been doing for COVID, or their plans for healthcare, or for racism in America. Those are some of the topics that they were supposed to touch upon. But for the most part, they've been pushing their ideas through all the propaganda you see. But this was just supposed to be them discussing it amongst each other. Why does this president not agree with him? Or what does he think he can do better, etc.
I agree. I think the potential these debates have is a lot more than what we're actually getting. And it's funny because I would like to see what stats out there that show how much effect these debates have on people like us that are voters. Because it's true, everyone has their own party, which I think is what the issue of the two-party system is. I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote Democrat regardless of who's showing up. So I feel the biggest, it's not even so much the the actual presidential election, when it's a Democrat and a Republican, that it becomes more important for like the Democratic National Party to like who I vote for that in the preliminary election. It becomes more important because that's the person I feel like I'm more so affecting. So like in our case, Bernie versus Biden, that was a more important election because it's who's I'm bringing it forth for the Democratic Party. But I don't like the whole two-party system. I feel like it's not a system that is good for the American people. It's more of a system that just defends its own party. Like that's what it's about.
I agree, because even as like if you vote Democrat or if you vote Republican, there's often times that you see yourself agreeing with both candidates. Like neither candidate is going to be 100% about things that you want, obviously. And also neither candidate is going to do 100% of the things they list. It's just not realistic, and it's naive if you think that it's going to happen. So you kind of just hope that when you do vote or when you do your make your decision, it's like the lesser two evils, especially in this election. I definitely think there's no really good candidate for us to vote for. It's gonna just come down to who can have the less damage in the 4 years that they're in office.
So on BBC, they mentioned how like this debate is like literally the night that American democracy hit rock bottom. But they have some stats for the debate. So it says Trump interrupted Biden 73 times. And then Biden spoke for 43 minutes and Trump spoke for 38 minutes. And the longest topic of conversation was coronavirus for 20 minutes. So that many interruptions. And literally, like you said, they only have 2 minutes to speak. How are they supposed to get anything through?
Do you guys think this was Trump's strategy? Like he purposely did this in order to not talk about his plans because he probably doesn't have any plans for the future. So it was kind of like a strategy to kind of just keep going at Biden, interrupt so that there isn't a real discussion being happening. Like this was his strategy going in.
I don't think so.
I don't think he meant to do it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I think, well, for one, I think it's Trump's nature to be kind of annoying. Like, I feel like he's that type of person that would constantly be bickering back and forth. Like, he's that younger sibling almost, that he constantly tries to push the envelope. And two, even though I'm not a Trump supporter by any means, I don't think that he lacks answers to questions. Like, I don't think he lacks policies and decisions. I think he has decisions, and I think he knows what he wants to do. I just don't think it makes sense half the time.
No,
he doesn't articulate it.
No, he always says, I have a great plan. It's amazing. You guys are going to love it. It's like, okay, what is it? Like, he just doesn't explain anything. And I'm like, what is the policy? What is the plan? Like, where are we going? So it's just like praising how great it is. And I'm like, okay, I heard nothing about what it actually is.
I feel like Biden was sort of doing the same thing. And he was like, he also interrupted Trump. And I think he was the first to insult Trump. He literally told him like, shut up. Or
I heard that.
Because he was being very annoying.
But it's not diplomatic.
It's like they were.
He called him a clown. He called him a liar. He said stop yapping. Like he called him a lot of names, and I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally I don't like that either. The calling names or whatever. But like he overdid it. Like Trump, I was getting annoyed. I was like, I can't focus or know what's going on or what is he trying to say. It's frustrating.
But I mean, you should still have a degree of professionalism, especially someone that's trying to be a leader of a country. Like there should just be some level. I mean, even we can tell that even the moderator was like not having it. The moderator was like, dude, your party agreed to these terms. You need to follow the agreements. You need to stop cutting people off. So, I mean, it was annoying. It was extremely annoying. But I still think that there should be some kind of like respect, like bare minimum, I guess, I would say.
That's what you would think. But even 4 years ago when Trump ran the first time, same thing was happening. He was insulting a lot of people. And that is who ends up becoming a president.
Besides that, Khoida, besides his personality and us still voting him into office, what's crazy to me that always comes up when I'm having a discussion about like the debates or the candidates is the fact that Trump had no background whatsoever politically. Like, how did he manage to just be a wealthy businessman and get elected into office? Like, it's not like he was a mayor, a governor, a senator. Like, he went straight from 0 to 100.
Honestly, though, it makes sense. I was laughing at it too because I was like, he 100% would not win 4 years ago. But it makes sense because if you look at the American people, one thing that we can agree on is that we have all kind of lost faith in our political system. Republicans and Democrats were all very frustrated with people who have been in office for a while. And what Trump gave them is someone from the outside, which is what a lot of the people who vote for him argue. He's not within the system. He's different. He is that successful businessman, possibly, whatever.
Yeah.
So they always, that's the reason how he went from 0 to 100. Because we're all just so frustrated with the same thing over and over again. I mean, he's not any different. He's doing the same thing that I think any president in his position would have done. Because it's an entire system. Like, one person isn't going to change it unless the entire system changes.
Yeah. I agree, but I just find it crazy that usually people have years of experience before they even think about running for presidency. Like, we see young people, young women, young men take part in politics from like their early 20s. You know, they graduate with majors in politics and in policymaking, and they continue to study. And it's just like, this guy really flipped the script when he came into office, which is, I mean, it's crazy. And then here he is running for re-election, and there's a very real possibility that he's gonna win again.
I personally think
I remember reading up on this article where people were saying that it's easy for him to go and fall in, become a president because of his white privilege. So it doesn't take much credentials or his backgrounds because he's white. Compared to Obama, who had to prove himself, like, look at this university I went to, look at how long I've been working in Congress. So he had to have all of that before even considering to be a president. So him coming in is just also another area of like, oh, white privilege. He could just be like, yeah, I'm gonna run for president, and do it. But if you were somebody of color, it's like, prove to me your credentials and what you've done and what's your history.
Yeah, of course. He's white and he's also really rich. The two things you need to easily run for office.
Yeah.
I
guess it's crazy.
I also think there's a shift in the way our generation or we look at people in general. Because I remember before, even with like Clinton, the affair ruined his reputation. As opposed to now, Trump and his like multiple marriages. Like, if a politician did not have like that perfect family life and that perfect image, he would like just resign on his own. As opposed to now, it just shows how like our culture has completely switched. Where Trump with multiple marriages, and he even married an immigrant, and there's a lot of issues and
sexual allegations against him.
Yeah, God knows what yeah, exactly. And then that he was still able to win. It just shows the change in our society.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
We're lowering our standards and values.
Yeah, I think we're shifting our standards and values for sure.
Yeah, like you said, Khuwaila, you can clearly see that between the presidents that we used to have in office and the presidents that we have now. Although, I mean, you can go back in everybody's presidency and nitpick and, look at what each candidate didn't do or what they had promised to do and they never fulfilled, or how far they actually got. There's a ton of times, even now, if you read on the Obama presidency, and everyone was when he was in office, everyone was, oh, he's so great. He's such a person for the people. He's doing so much. And then he leaves office and everything comes out and you're reading about him and it's like, oh, he didn't do as much as we thought he did, or he wasn't doing such a good job like we thought he was, So there's definitely a curve there. Like, the presidents are never what they are actually made out to be. But I have to say, I have to give one thing to the Republican Party. I think they're very candid. Like, I think Trump, as annoying as he is, and because he just says things the way they are, because he uses such colloquial language and he says whatever's in his head, he literally is so candid. Like, he doesn't care what people think, and I feel like he lays it all out on the table.
He says whatever he wants, but it's not the truth. And that's the problem. Even in the presidential debate, they're like, why isn't there somebody who's checking all these statements that are being said? Fact checking. So even he could say everything's amazing, everything's great, but he wants, but it's not honest. So
no, I don't think in the sense
it's quality.
No, I don't think in the sense that he's saying, oh, I'm doing such a great job. I think in the sense of him just coming out and calling things the way they are. Like, just like he'll say about a policy or something. Like, let's say, for example, when they were discussing the tax code that he's taking advantage of. And he's just like, and even though I don't agree with it, and obviously I don't think that somebody in power should be taking advantage of a system that's supposed to help the country. But for example, there he was just saying, okay, well, it's a policy that you guys voted for, and I just took advantage of it. Like, I feel like sometimes it's refreshing to have honesty, because when you're talking to someone, anybody off the street, a lot of times you just get lost in the political words, you know, like a lot of times people they don't even understand what's going on because the terminology that's used, and they don't understand the definitions of it. So I think one thing that is probably the best about his character is just that maybe it's because he's not smart enough to use big vocabulary, but just like generally speaking, yeah, I feel like he's very blunt. I don't know.
But that was the only thing that he said that I was like, okay, I understand what he's doing about his tax return and taking advantage of the system because he's finding the loopholes. But that's the only thing, like I can't remember anything else that he said that was of like honesty or.
But did Biden stand out with anything he said?
No. I think both. I wasn't able to connect with any president. Like even Biden, I know he tried to be like, forget what Trump is doing, let me ignore him and let me address the American people. And he would try to connect it and bring it home, especially with like COVID. He's like, here you are sitting in your kitchen table and you've lost a person from your family. So he tried to bring it home and connect with you. But I still didn't feel it. Like I didn't feel like it was like, true. I didn't feel like it was sincere. It was like, I felt like it was just like a tactic, like, okay, address the American people with them, but I didn't feel the genuineness of it.
I agree. I feel like Biden kept going towards like the emotional route where it's like, okay, you sitting at home in your kitchen, you lost a loved one. But it's like, okay, now let's address what you actually want to do for COVID. Stop talking about the people that you might have like been affected by it. Stop talking about that and be like, okay, maybe use that as a transition sentence, but then get to the actual meat of the question and the answer. And I think that's why no one felt satisfied, is because neither of them did that.
Even when the moderator was trying to get them to like go into detail about an idea, it was just a circle. Like we just ran in a full circle. They literally found any way, either they were cutting each other off or they were using their 2 minutes to poke at the other person, or they were just creating a cloud of like information. Like nobody actually got a sense of their policies or what they're interested in at all.
There are like rumors that they're gonna start muting the other person's mic. I hope they do that. I think
that would be so funny.
Honestly, when I was watching it, I was thinking, like, how come there's no sense of like control over this? I'm like, well, one, you would think, I can't believe we have to do this because there's only two. Like it's just common sense, like conversation. You listen as the other person speaks. You wait till your turn, like, you know. But I think they should do that. I was like, why aren't they muting the person's mic, or some sort of like referee needs to come into play or something? It's ridiculous. Like
I agree.
Can you imagine?
Honestly, I would rather them mute it and treat them like children, which is again pathetic, but mute it so that we can hear. And I wish another rule would be, don't even talk, because one of the questions or the way the moderator would always ask the question, why are you right and why are they wrong? And why is your opponent wrong? And I would just say, why are you right? Focus on what you are doing and what you are bringing forward rather than talking about the other person, because they both would just focus on why is he wrong rather than why am I right? And I feel like that was a major issue for me. It's like, okay, stop bashing the other person. Tell me about you. Like, it's not about him. Why should I vote with him?
Yeah, definitely. And even the fact that constantly whenever they'd want to like pick at each other or something, I also didn't like that they would constantly go for personal stuff. Like they were going for low blows, you know, like how Trump had mentioned Biden's son and he had a drug problem and he was dishonorably charged from the army. Like it was just like unnecessary, or mentioning each other's ranking in school, unnecessary. Like it was so pitiful, honestly.
But Biden handled it. Biden handled it well, and I think that was actually a plus for Biden.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people
he was very he was able to turn that into like a tactic.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
smart.
A lot of people have like either family or know someone that is suffering from a drug addiction, and he's like, you know, I still love him, and that was definitely a plus for him.
Yeah, definitely.
What are your thoughts about Biden saying "Inshallah" when Trump was asked about like showing his tax returns and all of Biden's like, yeah, "Inshallah."
I don't think he said inshallah personally.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Come on, he said "Inshallah." Listen, I was listening to this and I was like, did he just say "Inshallah"? And then kind of just like, okay, let's continue to watch this. I didn't really think much of it, but I'm like, no way. And then I go on like Twitter and like YouTube and I'm seeing Joe Biden said "Inshallah." I was like, I knew it. I thought I heard it.
Yeah.
But what word would have been like? I don't. Like, what
I
word
saw
would
that. I
have
saw that, and so I saw it all over social media too.
TikTok,
But when I listened,
everyone is,
but when I listened to the recording, I still didn't think I didn't think he said inshallah.
Here's my thing. If you listen to Biden speaking the entire night, he wasn't able to formulate a full sentence. All of his words were so chopped up. I'm like, he was probably trying to say something else, and it just sounded
He was
like
so flustered.
Like literally, all of his sentence and all of his words are so chopped up. And
yeah,
then
he's not an eloquent speaker at all.
Yeah,
he's not an eloquent speaker at all.
He had a lot of repetition. He had a lot of like stuttering. So I feel like he was trying to say something else. But the funny thing is, it fits with what we would understand it as.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he used it correctly. He used the term correctly.
Well,
if he used it.
Well, that's my question. A lot of people were saying, is this offensive? Because, you know, we use it like an Arab say, oh, inshallah, as in like, yeah, like, sure.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, not really going to happen. And then it's like, no, religiously, this is a serious word that he's taking lightly if he did say it. And so people are having that conversation. Should we defend it as Muslims?
Yeah. I saw those like tweets also showing how like that's like a type of like Arabophobia where it's like you're using it in a negative way that our parents all used it growing up. I don't know. So here's the thing that's also why I don't think he would use it. Why would he just randomly say it? First of all, which Arab taught him that? Who is in his group of circle uses inshallah regularly enough for him to just drop it randomly in conversation? Second of all, it wouldn't be helpful for him to say something like that. Like, I feel like it's a controversial thing.
Arabic word on national television in his first presidential debate. Like, really?
I
don't.
You know, it's funny. Actually, now that I think about it, the other day, I was working with one of my colleagues, and he had sent me, I had done something for him, and then he sent me an email saying shukran. I was like, this was so random. Like,
but like, I feel like most times when like non-Arab people speak Arabic, it's when they have someone close to them enough that say it enough for them to like articulate it.
I just thought it was funny, the memes and stuff people were coming out with.
I laughed.
Like, it was funny to see it all over social media. Honestly, the whole debate, like memes all about the debate, like two old men fighting, preschool teachers don't get paid enough, like the inshallah. It was funny, but I didn't think he said
like,
it.
Next thing that Joe Biden's going to say wallahi to like, swear to God.
Say wallah.
Say wallah.
Well, now we're finding out days after the first presidential debate, Trump tests positive for COVID. Which, wait, I would like to say it's very ironic because one of the things they were talking about during the presidential debate was, oh, Biden only hosts a few people for his speeches and whatnot. And Trump was trying to poke fun, like, oh, because he can't gather more than that. And Trump was boasting about having rallies of like 40,000 people. And he's like, yeah, we haven't had any problem. And then it's like Trump tests positive for COVID.
He also roasted Biden for wearing a mask. And he's like, I don't wear masks.
Yeah. It's like this big mask, and it's like, you remember this big mask?
It's like so ironic, but it's also
karma, man.
That is what it is. It's karma.
I think it's a tactic to keep him away from speaking for 2 weeks because, like, I think they're trying to give them some time to recuperate, and then we'll send you back out. Like, this is the perfect excuse right now.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that this whole thing is just like part of the political agenda, either for politics or for money. But I just think he actually got COVID.
Yeah, I think he actually did get COVID. I can't see how that benefits him.
Yeah.
I mean, he tested positive and his wife tested, and like supposedly other people in his circle tested positive also. with COVID. But it's crazy to think that he was contagious when he was amongst all these people. Like even the day of the presidential debate, he was contagious.
Yeah, I'm sure they have Biden like quarantined for 14 days. They're feeling with the people.
Yeah, what do you think about people? Because a lot of people were laughing because, like, you know, it is funny seeing that Trump was not really promoting wearing masks and like social distancing and all of that, and now that he has COVID, a lot of people are kind of like laughing at it, not really sympathizing with him, or kind of like, "Ha, you got COVID." Funny, instead of being like, "Oh my God, COVID!" Like, you know, we hope he feels better, and just kind of like their well wishes.
No, I
It's
understand.
actually concerning because he's pretty old also.
Yeah, that's true.
Like he's an older guy and he doesn't look like he's in like the healthiest. Like he seems like he's a little overweight, like he may have some other medical concerns. Yeah, so if like it was any everyday person with the same background, same history, it's a concern to like get COVID.
Yeah, I agree. But honestly, I understand people poking fun at it. And I
Yeah,
don't blame them.
yeah, of course.
It was funny. One of the tweets I read was how coronavirus had one of the most, like comparing it to a story, and one of the best character developments. At first, we didn't know what it was, and then we hated it, and now it's like you're rooting for it. And I'm just like, oh shoot, like, it's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
That's actually very funny. It can also come out as like a triumph story. Like even the president had COVID and he survived and he sacrificed and he came out on top. Like,
Maybe a way to
something
connect with
along those
people.
lines also.
Yeah, maybe a way to
Yeah.
connect
It
with
actually, after hearing about him contracting COVID and then hearing them list like, oh, he's this age, he has this background of his medical history, whatever, it actually made me realize how old these candidates are. Like even Biden, he's so old.
I
Like,
think he's like 77 years old.
dude, that's very old for us to choose these people to lead.
Honestly,
Like,
I feel like they should be retiring. Like, why do they still want to stay in
yeah,
politics?
yeah, no, definitely. They should not. We need young, like fresh eyes, energized, like want to make a change, not someone that's like you'll never change the mind of a 77-year-old. I don't care how long you try to talk to them. I don't care what you try to talk about. If their mind is set up, for the most part, they're done. Like
We have to appreciate
they're
the
checked out. They should be
experience,
retired.
but we do have to appreciate their experience. So, you know, being in the, well, even though Trump isn't really within the political field, but being, you know, involved for so long, I feel like they do have a lot of knowledge and wisdom that they could offer. I do think, though, it does stop us from like being more creative and, you know, coming up with new ideas to create change. But I wouldn't totally like dismiss it. Like I don't. That's a total.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing people who were holding against Bernie Sanders is, oh, he's so old. Oh, like that was something people were constantly saying, but they're all in the same
They're all
age
the same
group.
age.
Like I would mesh them all together. Exactly. And I do think like 77 is pretty old to be running for presidency.
So if Trump does need to take, like, if he's not well enough to continue to govern, what happens then?
But or not but.
Allah yastur, Mike Pence.
So, but
Yeah, VP.
I
then,
would
okay,
be very
VP takes
concerned.
over. VP takes over. And how about Trump? Okay, 2 weeks later or a month later, he feels better. Can he take back his presidency? Like, how does that stuff
Yeah,
work?
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only time a president can't continue is if he gets impeached or he dies. Like he can be sick and take a hiatus from being president and then
I
come
think he
back.
has to like write
It's
it
not
out
like
though that I'll be back if I do feel better, and you have to step aside. And I think
I don't
I don't think it's that easy to be like, I'm coming back now after you give
I don't
somebody the authority.
but I don't think it's gonna get to the like unless Trump is in a coma or he can't breathe or something, like it's that bad. I don't think he'd ever sign over power to anybody anyway. Like I don't think he would even allow it to get to that point unless he actually could not think for himself.
Medium would know this answer.
At least it's only like a few months left in the last year. Like it's not like he's just starting off his term unless he gets voted back in, but we'll know by then. Um, but yeah, what do you guys think of? Here's something I found interesting that they were talking about when they were discussing the mail-in votes. So this year, because of COVID, majority like is gonna be mailed in votes. And Trump was saying, "Oh, I don't think it's smart. I think like things are gonna be played with. I think there's gonna be some things that we have to check." Like, I feel like it's gonna be very problematic if on both ends. Honestly, I don't know so much Biden, but I feel like if Trump doesn't win, it's gonna be a huge recount or like someone played with the votes or something like that. Like he was very concerned with the mail-in votes.
So, but mail-in votes are not anything new. It's been
Mm-hmm.
a thing.
Yeah.
The only thing is now majority of it's going to be mail-in. So it's like shifting to where most of the effort is going towards.
That is pretty significant though.
Yeah, it is. The thing is, didn't Trump say that the first time around too? Last election? That if he didn't win, he would
I'm not sure, honestly.
recount.
Yeah,
I remember
I'm
the
not
story
sure.
of them wanting to recount votes and all this stuff, even though he didn't even win popular vote. He just won the electoral vote. But I remember him having the same argument last time, so I don't think that's anything new.
Mm-hmm. But do you guys think there's gonna be any, like, do you think there's gonna be any foul play with mail-in votes? Yeah.
I don't think so. I personally don't. I think that's like something that maybe could potentially be tampered with, but I don't think it actually will be.
Mm-hmm.
Personally.
Yeah, I don't know.
How do people even tamper with it? They're
Other people's votes.
Because
I don't know.
like we mail it in, and there's so much other mail. Who's gonna sit there and look through everyone's mail? And then how
Yeah, I
do
don't.
you do you tamper with it during like in transit or once it gets to the actual facility? I don't think that's gonna be a thing.
I don't know, but I feel like
It's possible that it may
nothing
happen.
surprises me. Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
surprises me in the political atmosphere. Would hope that we are above that. Like we can hope that the country can run on honesty for one thing. But if it did come out that something happened, I feel like I wouldn't be too shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. It's November 4th, right? 1 month.
Yeah. So I think you can do early voting now. Like you can request to get your ballot in earlier and vote early. But what they're doing is they're counting votes up until November 10th. So they're going to keep counting until November 10th. But your ballot has to have been sent in by November 4th.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, but this will be the first year that we may not find out until a week after voting who gets
Wow.
elected. Like
Yeah,
that's a long time.
I'm sure it's going to be much more difficult tallying everything up.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I don't know who they put in place to kind of trust to like tally up the votes and stuff. If it's all on paper and whatnot, like I feel like that's gonna
All
be.
computerized. Don't even have people do it. Other than like putting it into a machine, I feel like it should all just be computerized.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. It probably is like that.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's true. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I literally thought they just had like a mail room.
Like,
And
okay,
they were
yeah. Trump won, Biden won.
Whiteboard.
We got to 4, now we have to cross it with 5.
Who erased the board? We have to start again.
Imagine, now we have to start all over.
I was thinking like a big Santa room, like with elves, and everybody just sits around and counts. That's so funny. Yeah, you're right. It's probably computerized. I hope it is at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, everything now is going to be it's so different with COVID, so it's all going to be a first time feel.
You know what else is actually that I'm thinking about as the elections get closer and we're voting and whatnot. Like, what's going to be the aftermath of the election?
What do you
Like,
mean?
I feel like people have been very like doing whatever they want whenever they feel like it. So I'm just thinking, like, let's say for example Trump does win. Are the youth, are the Democrats, are the liberals, like the people that don't stand for it, are they going to be out in the streets again? Are we going to have like protesting, like rallying? Like I feel like everybody has been so fueled up this year that once that comes out, if it's not in favor of people, or they may just go a little crazy.
Honestly, I definitely see that happening. And
Really?
it happened 4 years ago. It's
Yeah.
probably going to happen again. My thing is, I just hope that everyone is using that energy beforehand to get people, as many people as possible, to vote, especially in swing states. Like Illinois,
Yeah.
thankfully for Chicago, we're a blue state for sure.
Yeah.
But people need to be actually like getting people to vote and spending their energy that way. And I think if everyone does their part and it plays out however it plays out, like what else can you do?
Yeah. Just being very proactive.
Yeah, this is the way our election is. I mean, what are we going to protest that? We don't want the elected to practice? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really see any riots or anything like that happening. I think it's going to be, if Trump does win again, it'd be sad to see, like, okay, no change has happened even after him.
I mean, we voted him in the first time after we knew everything. What's not to vote for him again?
I mean, that's what I keep telling myself. Like, yeah, I'm frustrated that Trump's president, but that's who we voted for. Except it's not, because that's what frustrates me with
the Electoral College.
Yeah, like, honestly, people should be protesting that. Like, that's what needs to be protested. That's what needs to be changed. Like, how are we not going to get majority of the country's vote, but still win?
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. I think our vote should be directly towards which candidate. Like, I vote for Biden, it should be one for Biden. Like, I think that's how it should be. It should be based on popular votes, not based on Electoral College. Well, if you're not,
people argue, like, does my vote even matter? What's the point of voting? If at the end it's just Electoral College.
Yeah. Honestly, that's also like kind of a toxic mentality. Like, don't think like that. Everyone hears that cheesy, like, oh, that one vote can make a difference. And it may not be as extreme, but it is still important to be super active in your in politics. And that's not even just to say on the national level. Like, we're not just talking about when it comes to your presidential candidates. It can also be with our Senate and White House. It can be House of Representatives, your judges, your community leaders. Like, people should be very active, because then we have no right to complain if things don't change. Like, I mean, if let's say Trump gets elected for another 4 years and he does absolutely nothing, then how do we place blame on him? Like, he got voted in. Like, we kind of did this to ourselves.
Yeah, and people have to keep in mind, like, local government. So, like, your city, like the mayor of that city, and just like the local government itself.
Yeah, and local government affects us sometimes a lot more than the national government does even. So.
And the more that they see, like, who their voters are, that's who they're going to gear their policies towards. So if they see more college students voting, they're going to try to please us. You know, let's make education more affordable. Let's try to increase jobs. So, like, the more that they see or, like, let's say there's more Muslims voting in, they're going to be like, oh, we need to please the Muslim people, not say these, like, racist things towards Muslims. So, like, even that matters.
Yeah, I think it's super, super, super important for our Arab and Muslim communities to vote. A lot of times we feel like sometimes we may not even take part, or we're not affected by things that happen and nobody takes us into consideration. But we need to start taking part. Like, we need to force ourselves to get a seat at the table, or nobody's going to offer it to us, you know? And I mean, Muslims and Arab are up and coming. They're not up and coming. I mean, we've been here for years, and we're some of the leading professionals in various fields. Like, we do have the right to be here. We do have the right to vote. Like, make sure that your opinion is heard, because nobody's going to ask for it.
I agree.
You know, so it's super important. And even,
Malak for president.
Oh yeah. No, but even it's actually nice when you even see, like, our masajid encouraging people to go out and vote, you know, like our shuyukh telling people, like, you should be active, you should take part. It's really nice. So we should definitely be active. Okay, so with all that being said, the Modern Skeptics urge you to go out and vote. Okay, take part. If you're not registered to vote, you can literally register, I think, anywhere. People are always phone banking to register. Facebook. You can register online. Facebook.
Instagram, yeah.
Facebook, Instagram. I think even Snapchat for a while was asking if you're registered to vote. So there's literally no excuse for you not to be registered to vote and voting. Um, I guess we look forward. This was the first presidential debate. We'll see what the future has in store. There may be like a few more for us, depending on how Trump is, I guess, how he's feeling. But there'll be a few more in the future. So just make sure that you're tuning in, even if it seems like it's a waste of time. Sometimes it's still good to know what candidates are thinking or whatever we can walk away from. But thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of To Whom It May Concern. If you don't already, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Modern Skeps. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up. Continue to follow us to be notified every time we drop a new episode. We do drop our episodes every Tuesday morning. If there's ever a topic that you'd like us to discuss, we're always willing and looking for new topics. Feel free to email us at themodernskeptics@gmail.com. Sincerely, The Modern Skeptics. P.S. Go out and do your part.